The radio crackled with desperation at 3:47 hours. Any aircraft, this is Broken Arrow Actual. We have friendly forces surrounded, ammunition critical, casualty evacuation impossible. Request immediate close air support. Grid follows. Admiral Rebecca Torres stood in the carrier's Combat Information Center, watching red dots converge on the digital display like vultures circling wounded prey. 12 hours earlier, a routine reconnaissance mission had turned into a nightmare when insurgents ambushed a Marine reconnaissance team in the mountains of eastern Afghanistan. Now those Marines were trapped in a valley with no escape routes, enemy forces tightening the noose with each passing minute. The storm had grounded everything. 70-knot winds, zero visibility, and lightning that turned the sky into a strobing hell. Every pilot on the USS Constellation had already declared the mission impossible. Too dangerous, too unpredictable, too likely to end in catastrophe. Torres watched the weather reports scroll across multiple screens, each update confirming what everyone already knew. Nothing should be flying in these conditions. Nothing sane anyway. That's when Lieutenant Commander Maya Ghost Restrepo stepped forward. The other pilots had already dismissed her suggestion with barely concealed smirks. Ghost was known for her unconventional approaches, her willingness to push boundaries that others wouldn't even acknowledge existed. She was also known for being overlooked, underestimated, treated like a curiosity rather than a weapon. Her service record spoke differently, but records don't have voices in ready rooms full of testosterone and tradition. "Sir, I can make it through," she said quietly, her voice cutting through the tension like a blade. The Admiral studied her weathered face, nodding the calm confidence that others mistook for recklessness. Maya had earned her call sign during a night mission over Iraq when she'd ghosted through surface-to-air missile systems that should have turned her A-18 into scrap metal. She'd returned with battle damage and a confirmed target elimination, speaking only to debrief before disappearing to Maintenance Bay to help repair her aircraft. Torres knew the statistics, knew the odds, knew that sending anyone into that maelstrom was essentially writing a death warrant. But she also knew that 12 Marines were running out of time, ammunition, and hope. The enemy was closing in, and dawn would bring no mercy. Sometimes command meant making impossible choices, balancing certain death against probable death, weighing the lives of many against the lives of few. The Admiral's decision would ripple through military history, though none of them knew it yet. She looked at Ghost one more time, seeing something in those dark eyes that reminded her why some pilots become legends. "Send anything that flies," Torres said finally, her voice carrying the weight of command and consequence. Then she watched as Maya Restrepo walked toward what everyone believed would be her final mission. Maya's hands moved with practiced precision as she suited up, each motion deliberate and economical. The flight suit felt like a second skin, worn soft from countless missions that had taken her from the scorching deserts of Iraq to the frozen peaks of Afghanistan. Her helmet bore the scars of a career spent pushing limits that others wouldn't dare approach. The other pilots watched her preparation with a mixture of respect and disbelief. They knew her reputation, had heard the stories whispered in ready rooms and officer clubs, but watching her prepare for what appeared to be suicide felt different. Her crew chief, Senior Chief Petty Officer Rodriguez, had worked on Ghost's aircraft for 3 years. He'd seen her return from missions that should have been impossible, aircraft held together by determination and physics that shouldn't have worked. But this felt different. The weather reports continued scrolling across screens throughout the hangar bay, each update confirming the impossibility of flight operations. 90-knot gusts, visibility near zero. Turbulence that would tear most aircraft apart before they cleared the carrier deck. "Ma'am, you sure about this?" Rodriguez asked, though he already knew the answer. Ghost never launched unless she was certain she could complete the mission. Her certainty didn't always align with everyone else's definition of possible, but her track record spoke for itself. 14 combat deployments, 237 combat flight hours, 0 aircraft lost to enemy action. The numbers told a story that transcended the skepticism of her peers. Maya checked her navigation systems one final time, plotting a course that would take her through the worst weather anyone had seen in months. The Marines in the valley had stopped radio communications, conserving battery power for target coordination when air support arrived. If air support arrived, she knew they were listening, though, knew they were counting on someone, anyone, to punch through the storm and provide the firepower they needed to break free from the trap closing around them. The A-18 Super Hornet had been configured for close air support, loaded with precision-guided munitions and enough cannon ammunition to suppress enemy positions. The aircraft sat on the catapult like a caged predator, engines spooling up to full power despite conditions that had grounded everything else in the carrier strike group. Maya felt the familiar surge of adrenaline that came before launch, the moment when training and instinct merged into something approaching pure focus. Admiral Torres watched from the bridge as Ghost's aircraft prepared for launch. The storm continued its assault on the carrier, waves crashing over the flight deck with enough force to send spray 60 feet into the air. Lightning illuminated the churning seas in stark, monochromatic flashes that revealed the fury of nature unleashed. This was madness, Torres knew, but sometimes madness was the only rational response to impossible circumstances. The catapult fired with explosive force, hurling 40,000 pounds of aircraft and determination into the teeth of the storm. Maya felt the familiar sensation of being pressed back into her ejection seat as the catapult accelerated her A-18 from 0 to 150 miles per hour in less than 3 seconds. But instead of the usual smooth transition to flight, she immediately entered a world of violence that tested every hour of her training. The aircraft bucked and twisted as it climbed through layers of turbulence that felt like flying through a blender. Lightning illuminated the cockpit in stark, white flashes that turned instruments into ghostly shadows before plunging everything back into darkness. Her radar showed nothing but chaos, weather returns painting the screen in shades of red and yellow that indicated precipitation, intense enough to damage aircraft. The radio crackled with static and interference, making communication with the carrier nearly impossible. Maya was alone in a way that few people ever experience, surrounded by forces that could destroy her in an instant while carrying the hopes of 12 trapped Marines who were counting on her to reach them before dawn brought their final battle. The flight management system tried to provide navigation guidance, but the storm was playing havoc with GPS signals and reference points. Maya flew by instinct and experience, following headings that felt right rather than relying on instruments that couldn't process the chaos surrounding her. The A-18 was built to handle extreme conditions, but this pushed beyond the edge of the envelope into territory where pilot skill mattered more than engineering specifications. She thought about the Marines in the valley, imagining their situation as enemy forces closed in through the darkness. They would be low on ammunition, probably wounded, definitely scared despite their training. They needed someone to punch through the enemy lines, to provide the suppressive fire that would allow them to break contact and reach extraction point. They needed her to do what everyone else had declared impossible. The aircraft shuddered through another bout of severe turbulence, warning lights flickering as systems struggled to maintain stability. Maya's hands moved across the controls with unconscious precision, making constant adjustments to keep the A-18 flying straight and level through conditions that would have overwhelmed less experienced pilots. She'd learned long ago that surviving in combat aviation meant developing an intimate relationship with fear, acknowledging its presence while refusing to let it control decision-making. 20 minutes into the flight, she broke through the worst of the storm clouds and found herself flying through a corridor of relative calm between towering thunderheads. The valley where the Marines were trapped lay ahead, marked by the faint glow of infrared signatures that indicated human activity. Maya began her descent, preparing to enter what would become the most challenging close air support mission of her career. The radio finally cleared enough for communication. "Ghost, this is Broken Arrow Actual. We've been waiting for you. Maya descended through 8,000 feet, the mountainous terrain of eastern Afghanistan materializing through her night vision systems like a landscape from another planet. The valleys twisted between peaks that rose over 12,000 feet, creating a maze of stone and shadow where enemy forces could hide indefinitely. Her targeting pod swept across the terrain, searching for the heat signatures and movement patterns that would indicate hostile positions surrounding the trapped Marines. Broken Arrow actual. This is Ghost inbound from the north. I need eyes on target positions and friendly locations, Maya transmitted, her voice cutting through the static with professional calm. The response came immediately, tinged with relief and desperation that no amount of military training could completely suppress. Ghost, friendlies are marked with infrared strobes, approximately 200 meters southeast of the prominent ridge line. Enemy positions confirmed in rocks above us, at least 30 combatants with automatic weapons and possible RPGs. We're taking heavy fire from multiple directions. Maya's targeting systems painted the battlefield in shades of green and white, friendly positions clearly marked by the strobing beacons that showed through her infrared display. The enemy positions were harder to identify, scattered among the rocks and crevices that provided perfect cover for an ambush. She would need to engage with surgical precision, close enough to suppress the enemy while avoiding any possibility of fratricide. The A-18's cannon held 500 rounds of 20mm ammunition, each projectile capable of devastating soft targets while minimizing the risk of collateral damage. Maya selected her first target, a cluster of muzzle flashes that indicated an enemy machine gun position, threatening the Marines from elevated terrain. The shot would have to be perfect, threading between friendly positions and mountainous terrain while compensating for aircraft movement and wind conditions. She rolled into her attack run, diving at an angle that would maximize accuracy while providing an escape route if enemy forces possessed anti-aircraft weapons. The cannon fired with precision that bordered on artistry, 20mm rounds walking across the target area with devastating effect. Secondary explosions indicated ammunition cook-offs, confirming successful hits on enemy positions. Ghost, that's direct hit on target 1. Enemy fire from that position has ceased, came the confirmation from below. Maya was already maneuvering for her second attack run, identifying another cluster of hostile positions that needed elimination. The Marines were beginning to move, using the suppressive fire to advance toward better defensive positions while maintaining contact with extraction coordinates. The dance continued for 45 minutes, Maya providing precise close air support while navigating through some of the most challenging terrain in the world. Each attack run required split-second timing and absolute accuracy, the margin for error measured in meters rather than miles. Maya completed her sixth attack run, watching enemy positions go silent one by one, as precision cannon fire eliminated threats that had held 12 Marines trapped for over 10 hours. The battlefield below had transformed from a killing field into a scene of organized retreat, friendly forces, moving with purpose toward extraction coordinates, while enemy survivors melted back into the mountains like shadows dispersing at dawn. Ghost, this is Broken Arrow actual. All enemy positions neutralized. We're moving to extraction point now, the ground controller reported, his voice carrying a mixture of gratitude and amazement that would stick with Maya for the rest of her career. She had done what everyone said was impossible, punching through weather that should have killed her to deliver firepower exactly where it was needed most. But the mission wasn't over. Maya still had to navigate back through the storm to reach the carrier, and her fuel situation was becoming critical. The extended time on station, combined with the aggressive maneuvering required for close air support, had consumed more fuel than planned. She began climbing back toward the storm clouds, knowing that the return flight would test her skills just as severely as the attack runs. The weather had intensified during her time over the target area. Lightning illuminated the clouds from within like Chinese lanterns, creating a light show that was beautiful and terrifying in equal measure. Maya entered the turbulence again, feeling the A-18 buck and twist as she climbed through layers of atmosphere that seemed determined to tear her aircraft apart. Her navigation system struggled to maintain lock on the carrier's position. GPS signals scattered by atmospheric interference and electronic noise that made precision navigation nearly impossible. Maya flew by dead reckoning and instinct, following headings that felt right while monitoring fuel consumption that was approaching critical levels. She had enough fuel to reach the carrier, but not enough for multiple approach attempts if weather made landing impossible. The radio crackled with intermittent transmissions from the ship, air traffic controllers trying to provide guidance through static and interference that made communication challenging. Maya caught fragments of instructions, enough to confirm that the carrier was maintaining position and preparing for her recovery despite conditions that made flight operations extremely dangerous. She broke through the clouds at 3,000 feet, the USS Constellation's lights visible through the rain and spray like a beacon of civilization in an ocean gone mad. The carrier was pitching and rolling in seas that sent green water across the flight deck, conditions that would normally suspend all flight operations. But Ghost was coming home, and the crew was prepared to risk everything to bring her safely aboard. The approach required every hour of carrier landing experience Maya had accumulated over 8 years of naval aviation. The deck pitched and rolled unpredictably, presenting a landing area that moved in 3 dimensions while she fought to maintain proper airspeed and glide path. Her fuel quantity showed critical levels, enough for one approach attempt with no possibility of a second chance. Maya caught the 3-wire with precision that bordered on perfection, her A-18 slamming onto the deck and decelerating from 150 miles per hour to 0 in less than 3 seconds. The arresting gear held despite the stress, bringing her safely home after a mission that would be discussed in naval aviation circles for decades to come. Admiral Torres was waiting on the flight deck despite the continuing storm, rain streaming down her face as she watched Maya shut down her engines. The other pilots emerged from the island's superstructure, their earlier skepticism replaced by something approaching awe. Ghost had done what none of them thought possible, and everyone present understood they had witnessed something extraordinary. Maya climbed down from her aircraft, her legs unsteady after 3 hours of flying through conditions that had tested the limits of human endurance and mechanical engineering. The deck crew surrounded her with congratulations and relief, but she remained focused on the mission results. 12 Marines were safe, extracted successfully after Ghost's close air support had broken the enemy ambush and provided the suppressive fire they needed to reach safety. Senior Chief Rodriguez was already examining the FA-18, documenting the stress damage and where that accumulates during missions flown beyond normal operational limits. The aircraft had performed flawlessly despite being pushed far beyond design specifications, a testament to engineering excellence and pilot skill working in perfect harmony. He would spend the next 18 hours ensuring the aircraft was ready for its next mission, whenever that might come. The Admiral approached Maya as she completed her post-flight inspection, nodding the calm professionalism that had never wavered despite the extraordinary circumstances of the mission. "Outstanding work, Commander. Those Marines owe their lives to your skill and courage," Torres said, her words carrying the weight of command recognition that meant more than any medal or commendation. Maya nodded quietly, already thinking about the after-action reports and debriefings that would follow. She had done her job, nothing more and nothing less. The fact that her job had required flying through impossible weather to deliver precision close air support in mountainous terrain was simply part of being a naval aviator. Some missions were routine, others pushed the boundaries of what humans and machines could accomplish together. The storm was beginning to weaken, but the seas remained heavy as the carrier continued its mission in the Arabian Sea. Below decks, the intelligence teams were already analyzing the mission results, documenting the tactical success that had saved 12 American lives while eliminating a significant enemy force. The mission would become a case study in close air support operations, an example of what could be accomplished when pilot skill met technological capability under extreme conditions. Word of Ghost's mission spread through the carrier strike group within hours, passed along through the informal networks that connect military personnel across all services and specialties. The pilots who had declared the mission impossible found themselves reassessing their understanding of what constituted acceptable risk versus necessary action. Maya had redefined the boundaries of naval aviation through sheer competence and determination. The Marines who had been extracted sent a message through official channels, expressing their gratitude to the pilot who had saved their lives. They would never meet Ghost face to face, but they would carry the memory of her precision, cannon fire, and perfect timing for the rest of their military careers. Some stories become legends not because they're impossible, but because they demonstrate what becomes possible when training, courage, and necessity converge. Maya spent the following day writing her after-action report, documenting the mission details with the same precision she brought to flying. The weather conditions, target engagement procedures, fuel management, and navigation challenges were all recorded for future reference. Her words were spare and factual, focused on tactical lessons rather than personal heroics. The report would be classified and filed away, read by intelligence analysts and flight instructors who would extract every possible lesson from her experience. The other pilots treated her differently now, their casual dismissiveness replaced by genuine respect. They had seen her prepare for what appeared to be a suicide mission and return successfully after accomplishing objectives that none of them would have attempted. Ghost had proven that exceptional pilots could accomplish exceptional things, given the opportunity and the necessity. But Maya remained unchanged by the recognition, focused on maintaining the proficiency and readiness that had made the mission possible. She continued her daily routine of physical training, aircraft system study, and flight preparation that kept her skills sharp and her aircraft mission ready. Excellence in naval aviation required constant attention to details that others might consider mundane, but which could mean the difference between mission success and catastrophic failure. 3 days later, Maya received new orders. She was being transferred to the Navy's elite test pilot school, selected to evaluate experimental aircraft systems and tactical procedures that would define the future of naval aviation. The assignment was recognition of her exceptional skills and judgment, an opportunity to influence the development of capabilities that would serve future generations of naval aviators. Admiral Torres personally delivered the orders, understanding the significance of losing such an exceptional pilot from her carrier air wing. "The Navy needs pilots like you pushing the boundaries of what's possible," she explained. "Your experience will help develop the systems and procedures that future aviators will depend on." Maya accepted the orders with the same quiet professionalism she brought to everything else, understanding that her career was taking a new direction toward responsibilities that extended beyond individual missions. Test pilots shaped the future of aviation through their willingness to fly unproven systems and explore the edges of performance envelopes that operational pilots would eventually inherit. Her final mission from the constellation was a routine combat air patrol, uneventful compared to the storm penetration and close air support that had made her legendary. But Maya flew it with the same precision and attention to detail that characterized all her flying, understanding that routine missions maintained the proficiency that made extraordinary missions possible when circumstances demanded them. The hangar bay ceremony was small and informal, attended by the pilots and maintenance personnel who had worked with Ghost during her deployment. Admiral Torres presented her with the Distinguished Flying Cross, recognizing exceptional heroism and skill in aerial combat. The citation would become part of her permanent record, documenting the mission that had saved 12 Marine lives while demonstrating the capabilities of naval aviation under extreme conditions. Maya's speech was brief and focused on the teamwork that made individual success possible. She thanked the maintenance personnel who kept her aircraft mission ready, the intelligence specialists who provided targeting information, and the air traffic controllers who guided her safely home through impossible weather. Naval aviation was a team effort. She reminded the assembled personnel, with every individual playing a crucial role in mission success. Senior Chief Rodriguez presented her with a small piece of metal, a fragment from the A-18's engine intake that had been damaged during her storm penetration. "Something to remember us by, ma'am," he said with genuine affection. The metal fragment would sit on her desk at test pilot school, a reminder of the night she had proven that impossible was just another word for difficult. The helicopter transfer to shore was routine, a short flight that contrasted sharply with the challenges she had faced just days earlier. Maya carried her personal gear and a folder containing copies of her mission reports, documents that would be studied and referenced by future naval aviators learning about close air support and adverse weather operations. At test pilot school, Maya would fly prototype aircraft that pushed the boundaries of aerodynamics and propulsion, evaluating systems that might revolutionize naval aviation or prove too dangerous for operational use. Her experience flying through impossible conditions would inform her evaluation of experimental capabilities, helping determine which innovations deserved further development and which should be abandoned as too risky for routine operations. Her reputation preceded her to the school, where instructors and fellow students had already heard about the pilot who had penetrated severe weather to deliver precision close air support when everyone else declared the mission impossible. But Maya preferred to let her flying speak for itself, approaching each test mission with the same methodical preparation that had characterized her operational career. The experimental aircraft were challenging in ways that differed from combat operations, but required similar attention to detail and risk management. Each test flight pushed into unknown territory, where pilot error could mean the loss of prototype systems worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Maya's ability to remain calm under pressure and make precise decisions in rapidly changing situations made her ideally suited for test pilot duties. 6 months into her assignment, Maya was selected to evaluate a new close air support aircraft designed specifically for operations in challenging environments. The prototype incorporated lessons learned from her mission over Afghanistan, with enhanced navigation systems and improved weapons accuracy for precision strikes in mountainous terrain. Her experience flying the mission that had inspired the aircraft's development gave her unique insight into its operational potential. The test flights revealed both promise and problems with the new design, requiring modifications that would improve performance while maintaining the reliability essential for combat operations. Maya's reports influenced design changes that would eventually produce an aircraft capable of delivering precision firepower under conditions that challenged conventional systems. Her operational experience provided context that pure test pilots might have missed. Years later, when military historians analyzed the evolution of close air support tactics, they would identify Maya's storm penetration mission as a turning point that demonstrated new possibilities for naval aviation. The mission had proven that exceptional pilots could accomplish objectives that seemed impossible given sufficient training, proper equipment, and absolute necessity. It had also highlighted the importance of individual initiative and tactical flexibility in achieving strategic objectives. Maya completed test pilot school with distinction, her evaluations consistently noting exceptional flying ability combined with analytical skills that made her reports valuable for both aircraft development and tactical doctrine. She was offered several assignment options, including return to operational flying or continuation in test and evaluation roles that would shape the future of naval aviation. She chose to return to the fleet, accepting assignment as commanding officer of a fighter squadron preparing for deployment to the Pacific. The assignment would allow her to pass on the lessons learned during her test pilot tour while leading operational pilots who would benefit from her experience with both conventional and experimental systems. Command at Sea represented the culmination of a career spent pushing the boundaries of what naval aviation could accomplish. The squadron she inherited had a reputation for aggressive flying and mission accomplishment, but Maya quickly identified areas where her experience could improve their effectiveness. She instituted training programs based on lessons learned during her test pilot assignment, emphasizing precision weapons delivery and operations in challenging environmental conditions. The pilots initially approached her innovations with skepticism, but results spoke for themselves as mission effectiveness improved significantly. Maya's first deployment as commanding officer took the squadron to the South China Sea, where tensions with regional powers required constant readiness for combat operations. The pilots who had once questioned her unconventional approaches now followed her leadership without hesitation, having seen how her innovations improved their tactical capabilities. They flew more precisely, planned more thoroughly, and executed missions with confidence born from superior preparation. During the deployment, Maya led several reconnaissance missions that required flying through weather conditions similar to those she had encountered during her legendary storm penetration. The experience she had gained flying through impossible conditions now served her squadron, as she guided them through challenging situations that would have overwhelmed less experienced leadership. Her calm competence under pressure set the standard for pilots who were learning that excellence required constant effort and attention to detail. The deployment concluded successfully, with the squadron achieving mission objectives while maintaining perfect safety records. Maya's leadership had transformed a good unit into an exceptional one, demonstrating how individual excellence could elevate entire organizations when properly applied. Her fitness reports reflected the recognition of superiors who understood they were observing a career that would influence naval aviation for decades to come. Promotion to captain came with assignment as Air Wing Commander, responsible for all aircraft operations aboard a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier. The position required strategic thinking and operational planning that built upon the tactical skills Maya had developed throughout her flying career. She would be responsible for integrating multiple squadrons into effective strike packages while managing the complex logistics of carrier-based aviation. As Air Wing Commander, Maya implemented training programs that emphasized the principles she had learned through operational flying and test pilot experience. Pilots learned to push beyond conventional limitations while maintaining the safety margins essential for sustained operations. Her emphasis on precision and preparation became the standard for carrier aviation, influencing tactical doctrine that would be adopted throughout the fleet. The Air Wing's performance during workups and certification exercises demonstrated the effectiveness of Maya's approach to naval aviation. Mission success rates improved while mishap rates decreased, proving that exceptional performance and safety were complementary rather than competing objectives. Other air wings began adopting training methods pioneered under her leadership, spreading her influence throughout the naval aviation community. Maya's final deployment as Air Wing Commander took her back to the Arabian Sea, where she had first demonstrated what was possible when necessity met capability. The region remained challenging, with political tensions requiring constant vigilance and readiness for combat operations. Her air wing flew missions that ranged from routine patrols to complex strike operations, each executed with the precision and professionalism that had become her trademark. Retirement from active duty came with assignment as director of the Navy's Advanced Tactics School, where she would train the next generation of naval aviators in the advanced techniques and procedures that defined modern carrier aviation. The position allowed her to codify the lessons learned during 30 years of flying, ensuring that future pilots would benefit from her experience with operations at the edge of what humans and machines could accomplish together. At the Tactics School, Maya developed curriculum that emphasized both technical proficiency and the judgment necessary for success in combat aviation. Students learned to analyze complex tactical situations while developing the flying skills that would keep them alive in combat. Her courses became legendary within naval aviation, producing graduates who consistently outperformed their peers in operational assignments. The storm penetration mission that had made Maya famous was now taught as a case study in tactical decision-making and risk management. Students analyzed the weather data, tactical situation, and decision-making process that had led to mission success under impossible conditions. The lesson emphasized that exceptional situations sometimes required exceptional responses, but only when supported by exceptional preparation and training. Maya's influence extended beyond the pilots she trained directly, as her graduates carried her methods and philosophy to squadrons throughout the fleet. Naval aviation evolved toward greater precision and effectiveness as more pilots embraced the standards she had established through personal example. The transformation was gradual but unmistakable, as mission success rates improved and tactical innovation flourished under leaders who had learned from her experience. Years after her retirement, Maya received the Navy Cross for her storm penetration mission, belated recognition of extraordinary heroism that had saved Marine lives while demonstrating the capabilities of naval aviation under extreme conditions. The ceremony was attended by many of the pilots she had trained and led, officers who now commanded squadrons and air wings throughout the fleet. Their presence testified to the enduring influence of her example on naval aviation. The citation accompanying her Navy Cross described actions that demonstrated exceptional courage and flying skill while delivering precision close air support under weather conditions that had grounded all other aircraft. But Maya understood that the real recognition lay in the careers of pilots who had learned from her example, and in the lives saved by tactics and procedures that grew from her willingness to attempt what others declared impossible. In her retirement speech, Maya reflected on a career that had spanned the evolution of naval aviation from analog instruments to digital displays, from iron bombs to precision-guided munitions. She had witnessed and participated in changes that revolutionized the way naval aviators approached their mission, always emphasizing that technology was only as effective as the training and judgment of the humans who employed it. The final lesson she offered to the assembled officers was simple. Exceptional results required exceptional effort, but the effort was worthless without the wisdom to know when and how to apply it. Naval aviation would continue evolving, presenting new challenges that would require innovative solutions. Future success would depend on pilots who combined technical proficiency with the courage to attempt what others considered impossible, when the mission demanded nothing less than perfection. Maya's legacy lived on in the pilots she had trained, the tactics she had developed, and the standard of excellence she had established through personal example. Naval aviation was better because she had pushed its boundaries, safer because she had emphasized preparation and precision, and more effective because she had demonstrated what became possible when exceptional people applied themselves to exceptional challenges. The storm that had seemed insurmountable became a metaphor for every challenge that naval aviators would face in defense of their nation. Maya had proven that storms could be penetrated, that impossible missions could be accomplished, and that individual excellence could make the difference between mission failure and tactical victory. Her example would inspire future generations of naval aviators who would face their own storms with the confidence that came from knowing what was possible when courage met competence in service of a mission that mattered more than personal safety.